What's good, y'all? So Exclusive Ace just dropped the video for this most recent update for Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and I guess they improved the mantle speeds, the score streaks. They improved what we all been asking. They finally fixed the emote sound, the sounds that the emotes make because they were too loud, and that's what everybody was asking, and they finally fixed that. But without further ado, if you are new here, if you've never been here before, it's your boy, the myth, the legend, the man with 3,000 hands, aka Ugly Boy 3000. I will have the original video linked down in the description, but don't forget to hit that sub button and drop a like. It puts us into the algorithm and it gets us one step closer to taking over the world.
What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and the Squid Game event for Black Ops 6 is now live. And personally, I don't really care about the event so much. I more so care about the patch that came alongside
Let's
it,
hear what
which
you got
included
to say,
a small
man.
handful of changes and fixes. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Just keep in mind, this was not a very large update as far as improvements.
We need to know the patches and the fixes.
That's likely due to the fact that we're just coming off a holiday right now. I typically don't expect any major updates coming off the holidays until about a week or two later, just based on history. That's how things work with Call of Duty. The devs have been away. They're probably just now starting to trickle back into work, or maybe not even until next week. So I definitely didn't expect this to be a large update, and it wasn't.
We know this because the devs been on break this whole time selling cheats. All season one, the devs go on break and they sell cheats and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is proven facts, but not by me. You know what I'm saying, you could do your own research, but we're just going to put that out there real quick.
But there were some key adjustments here I wanted to cover. And the first one, which is a very welcome change that has been a long time coming in this game, they have increased mantle speeds across the board.
Hey, increased mantle speeds is a W. We're gonna say that's a big W. If it's not a W, let me know. If it's an L in the chat, let me know if you like climbing over objects slow.
Thing that has just felt painfully slow relative to all of the other movements in the game. It's just such a jarring feeling where you basically feel like a super soldier with your slides and your dives and everything. It happens so quickly and responsively, but then the moment you run into a small wall, it's like you just lost all of your strength and everything happens in slow motion.
Exactly.
So I just felt that the mantling was not really well suited to the general pacing of this game outside
Let
of
them know,
mantling.
Exclusive Ace.
So they did buff this, and let's have a look at the comparisons here. The first one we'll look at is this high mantle where you actually reach up and
W in the chat for Exclusive Ace and his comparisons. We get a breakdown of the comparisons right now, live, right here. So you don't have to ask me no questions. He's going to show you right now.
Grab the ledge with two hands. And this one is very noticeably faster now, post-patch compared to pre-patch. You'll get your gun up about 20% faster. And that's definitely a noticeable difference with that particular style of mantle. Next, we have the slightly lower but still reasonably high mantle here, where you're still putting your gun away, but you're not putting two hands up. So this animation happens a bit faster. And while the change might look a little bit more subtle here, if you actually look at the crosshair motion, this is where you can detect the actual changes.
Post-patch.
And once again, this was actually a 20% improvement here, even though it may not look like it. And then finally, for a much lower mantle, this one was also sped up by 20%. But again, it looks like a very subtle change. You can start aiming down sight noticeably sooner, though, with this sniper rifle, for instance. So overall, while I do need some...
Hey, 20% is good, but you know what I'm saying? What they should have just did is just make it 30%, and then they wouldn't have had to touch it ever again.
Gameplay time to see how this actually feels in the heat of the moment when you're actually in the fight and have enemies shooting back at you, for instance. At the very least, this is a clear improvement this time around with this update, unlike the last time they claimed that they improved mantle speeds, but I couldn't really detect any differences. So absolutely a welcome change, but I'll need some more time to form my full opinions as to whether or not they took this far enough. I still think it would be an excellent benefit they could add to dexterity to make you mantle even faster. But that's the first thing they adjusted with this update. The next thing that's fairly minor, but still wanted to point out you can do this, they added the ability to open and close doors while sprinting. And this is actually kind of nice. If you're sprinting through an open doorway, all you have to do is hold down the interact button as you're doing that, and it'll actually close the door behind you. You don't have to like stop, turn around, and then close the door. You can just hold that down. And that could actually be somewhat useful in some situations. Probably more so in Warzone than multiplayer, but even on the multiplayer side.
No, you could go crazy in multiplayer too. The door plays that he just said. So now, because I play on tactical sprint, so if you play on automatic tactical sprint, you're normally just busting through the doors. But now we can close the door behind you. That's you can make some crazy plays.
You could potentially use that if you're falling back and retreating. You think somebody's chasing you. you could close that door behind you, and that could at the very least force them to run through that door, creating a sound cue, and then you'll know exactly where they are and what's going on. Or you might be able to just cut off that line of sight if they're at a bit more of a distance and they're trying to get shots on you as they're going through a doorway.
And then you can reach out.
When it comes to UI changes, they mentioned they improved the after action report flow. They added a dismiss button to exit at any point and a timer, and they added a summary at the end. And as far as I could see with this, I didn't really notice any changes at least. Perhaps there were some subtle changes here, but nothing that really stood out to me as anything that was different than what we had access to previously. They also improved readability when searching for a match, and they addressed an issue where the gun screens could not be previewed. Now, unfortunately, one issue that popped up with the Season 1 Reloaded update, if I remember correctly, that they didn't fix with this update, and hopefully they'll get on top of this with the next one, is we still don't have that ability to look at our advanced stats screen when we're in our gunsmith if we're in an individual attachment menu.
Yeah, you still can't.
And we used to be able to do that, but now what you have to do is back out to the main gun screen, then you can open the advanced stats, and then you can go back into the individual attachment.
I thought you just couldn't use the advanced stats, but now I know how to use the advanced stats. That's fire. Thanks for the advice, Exclusive Ace, once again.
Screens, and then it will continue to show your advanced stats. Fairly minor gripe, but it's just one of those things where the functionality was better before, and then they took some of that functionality away, and they didn't fix that with this update.
So this is another thing. They break things on purpose just so they can say that they fixed something. Like they didn't want to put the game out perfect, and then people complain about it, so they put the game out incomplete. So then they can fix the stuff they already know that they can fix. They're, you know what I'm saying? But we're smarter than that. We know what's going on. We know what's going on in Call of Duty.
Let's talk about score streaks a little bit, because a bunch of the score streaks saw some adjustments.
We just like the game, so
however,
we keep playing.
RCXD was
you know what I'm saying? If we're going to be honest, if you're still playing, you're probably addicted to Call of Duty.
Actually nerfed a little bit. They slightly reduced its maximum damage. With the Archangel
We're not
launcher, apparently there was
brainwashed,
a rare issue where the next bullet that you fired from your weapon would actually shoot an Archangel rocket. I have never seen that before personally. I've never even seen a clip of that, but that sounds pretty hilarious. In either case, they have fixed that one. Then with the care package, they reduced the odds that you'll get a scout pulse from a care package. With the LDBR, they decrease the damage that the LDBR does to its owner, so if you run into the damage area of that, it's less likely to kill you as the person that called it in. And on top of that, they reduced the score requirement from 950 all the way down to 800. That's a pretty big buff as far as making it easier to earn. Then with the sentry turret, they increased the fire rate of the sentry turret, they increased its health, and they reduced the score requirement from 1,000 down to 950. Not as big of an adjustment there, but I am curious to try this out and see if it's a lot more effective with that increased fire rate.
We're gonna have to run the sentry.
As for the Hellstorm, they reduced the score requirement by 50 score, so not a huge adjustment there, but a slight buff. With the Watchdog Helo, they slightly increase the amount of damage it deals, and they increase the accuracy when it acquires a new target. And with that combination, that's sounding pretty deadly. Of course, I need to actually get some playtime with it to test it out to see if it really is more effective. But on paper, at least, those are two pretty big upgrades. And on top of that, they reduce the score requirement from 1,100 down to 1,050. After that, we have the Strategic Bomber, where they reduced the score requirement from 1,300 down to 1,100.
Oh, that's crazy.
With the ADR, they increased the top speed as well as the acceleration, and they also addressed an issue where it would sometimes deploy with less HP than intended. And then finally, for streak adjustments, with the Dreadnought, they slightly increased the HP value, and they reduced the score requirement to earn it from 1,800 down to 1,700. So there we go, a good handful of buffs to many of the streaks out there. Some of them appear to be much bigger than others, and I'm looking forward to playing around with these a little bit to see just how effective they are after this update. Next up, there's a few other bugs they fixed here, like the wrong finisher would sometimes be previewed in the UI. There were various issues with overlapping text. One funny thing they mentioned here is correct calling cards now display during the winner's circle in free-for-all. However, there's no mention of them actually fixing free-for-all. And the fact that the person that wins the match in free-for-all doesn't always actually win the match. Oftentimes you win, but you actually lose, which is a pretty big issue for that game mode that's been present since launch.
To be honest, I love free-for-all, and then to hear him say that is like, damn, bro, I can't even play free-for-all. And everybody just wants to camp in free-for-all, too. What happened to everybody just being crazy and moving around, you know what I'm saying? But I feel it. You wanna hold down a position and lock down some spawn points. I understand. I understand. But you don't gotta stay there the whole game, dog.
They also reduced the range of emote sound effects, and that's pretty much it as far as the main fixes and adjustments that they made to the game. However, I should also...
Bro, that's what they patched, bro. They didn't fix the cheaters. They didn't fix nothing like that. They reduced the sound of the emotes.
To point out
Crazy.
some new actual playable content that we have access to with this update as well. The first thing is the Cleaver melee weapon. That is available as part of the
That's
Squid Game
fire.
event. And for those curious, now that we have access to this, I'm finally going to be doing a full melee breakdown and comparison, looking at all the different melee weapons and how they differ from each other and which one is best. So expect that to come on the channel sometime in the near future, and if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that so you don't miss out on that.
Hey, make sure you
And
do
on top
that.
of that, we have a new wild
Here
card
too.
called High Roller, and this one allows you
High
to
Roller.
equip a 4th score streak on your loadout, which sounds pretty
Damn.
powerful if that's the route you wanted to go. Obviously, wildcards are quite competitive. There are a lot of really
drop
good options out there,
extra
so I wouldn't say this is
streaks.
necessarily a no-brainer. But especially with these buff score streaks, this could be quite a powerful wildcard
might
to
wanna
use. And there we go.
drop
That's
the
going to wrap it up for all of
streaks
the
on 'em,
important
dot.
changes and fixes that came on the multiplayer side of things with today's updates. Like I said, this wasn't a massive update by any means, but I didn't really expect that to be the case. It's not like they really addressed some of the biggest issues that are plaguing the game at the moment. But in saying that, there were some welcome changes here, and I suspect we'll be seeing a much more robust update within the next 2 to 3 weeks at least. Now, of course, these are
Okay.
just my opinions, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this update and the Squid Game event in those comments down below.
Hey,
and if you enjoyed this one,
go
a
hit
like
that
rating is
follow
always
button.
appreciated. And don't
Go hit
forget to
that
subscribe
sub
for more if
button.
you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
And we're out of here.
Yo, Queen on this one, deep.